asked George, I said, oh, whose programs do you use to refine your structures, solve your structures? And I've never forgotten this. The whole meeting was a life-changing event. But what I remember most is that George sort of sat there and he had that trick of doing something with his eyelids. I don't know whether he still did it, but he sort of, you knew that something was happening. And he said, well, and it was obvious that he knew who I was talking about. He knew about Busey and Levy and Ortep and all that, but it was obvious he hadn't had anything to do with that. He said, we prefer to write our own programs here. I thought, oh gosh, what have we got here? But I was rather startled. And as we chatted more, I suddenly realized that, oh, here's someone who is actually trying to do something that a lot of us, I think, in the subject had imagined might be possible, but we weren't there yet. I think I found when I was going through my old notes here, I found a copy of a note by Busey that came from an ACA meeting in Albuquerque in 1972, where effectively what he's doing is he's predicting something that was like what shellacs became. And he's talking about, gosh, this may be a problem for all of us. We may be out of a job. So we're all imagining things like this, but never having achieved it anywhere like it, And so I remember in this first meeting, I remember thinking, gosh, here is someone who may be exciting to know. Here is someone who was talking about doing exactly what we had only imagined. There's one thing that I want to tell everyone, really, and that is that in those early days, I watched George while he was writing what became the first version of shellacs, the shellacs 76. And I can tell you, it came of the hardest work I ever saw anyone do. Honestly, really did. The hardest work, with this bunch of cards saying, I think I've reached a stage where this program cannot be crashed. It's completely foolproof. It will never, it may not do the right thing, but it's not going to crash. So I remember thinking, oh, that's a bit of a challenge, So we went away, and sure enough, I mean, no program is uncrashable. Even George would be the first to say that. So I've forgotten how I did it, but I managed to crash it. And I had the evidence, the line, here I've crashed. I was rather worried about presenting this to George, but when I said, George, he was delighted. Oh, you managed to crash my program. How wonderful, And I realized, oh, it was just George's way of, making sure that everyone was testing it to destruction, really. And it was just a help to him. I needn't have bothered worrying that he might not like someone crashing his program. And then 2 days later, when I tried to crash it by the same method, it didn't work. So couldn't do it. So I think that was one of the things that definitely I wanted to say. It was an amazing thing to watch, and I am privileged to have watched that early stage of it happening. George standing in Mike Hursthouse's office saying, I've decided to call it shellacs. That was the first time I ever heard the name. And I can't now remember what we said. He was testing it out, I think, to see what we thought of it. I think we said something, oh, bravo, George, or something. That's very good. Carry on, basically. But that was another memorable moment and he left us an embryonic version of what became shellacs, and we were testing it out,